This is the BeNoTOYrious Podcast, and we here today in Leland, Mississippi, at the Cabin on the Bulge, at the cottage at the Cabin on the Bulge in Leland, Mississippi. Beautiful grounds. I'm here with a legend, a prominent figure of Greenville, Mississippi. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, you're about to know. Miss Bennie Parks.
Okay. Well, hello, Johnny.
What's going on, Miss Parks?
Nothing going on.
Tell me something good, Miss Parks.
Oh, nothing. You know, this is my weekend. I'll be 65 on Monday. And we're, like you say, we're down here at the cottage at the Cabin on the Bowl. It's owned by Beatrice and Sammy Patterson.
Good people, too.
Good people.
Yeah.
So we're here to have a good celebration on tomorrow with live band, jazz band, and we're moving to a church service with a sit-down dinner. I think we're going to have a good time.
Okay. On the calendar, I think it had Bennie Parks weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, tell me about it. You said you never had a birthday party.
I never had a birthday party.
At 65?
And at 65, I decided the 1st of January 1 hit. I decided I was going to give myself a party this year. And I started working on it.
How you come about hearing about this location?
I knew of B, and I knew they had this place, and heard about it, but I had never been out here before. So I decided to come out. One day I called her to come and view it, and I liked it. I liked the grounds and what they had to offer. So I signed a contract with them.
Exactly. Did you go into it knowing what kind of theme that you wanted, or?
I did. I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, and then I went to the state convention in July in Jackson, and the last day of the convention, that night they had a fundraising gala, and when we walked into it, it was the exact thing that I had been thinking about. I said, and that's my confirmation that I need to do this. Exactly. That walked into the band. The hors d'oeuvres and everything, and went into a sit-down dinner. I said, this is what that means that I need to do this.
I gotta ask, what kind of hors d'oeuvres are going to be served tomorrow?
Well, I'm not quite sure. My friend Julia Ridley and her mother got that together. Okay. I just told her that's what I wanted, and they went to work on it.
Boy, you be putting
so
people work.
Everybody that I called about doing things, they accepted, and. You know, I sent the invitation out saying it was a surprise. I didn't say it was a surprise party. It says it's a surprise celebration. And but it's actually going to be a surprise to the people that attend. Because I planned it, but they don't know I planned it. They won't know that to the night of the celebration.
Why at 65 you decided to do this?
I don't know. Well, it just dawned on me that, you know, as most people say, I'm in a good place. I'm in a good place in my life, and God's doing a lot of things in my life, so I thought this was a good time. You know, my children are grown and gone and doing their own thing. They're successful in what they decided they wanted to do, and it's time for me to do something for myself.
Man, how your reputation precedes yourself in Greenville, coming from knowing my parents and knowing my grandparents and running around that whole north side of Greenville. Could you just give me how was it at that moment growing up at those times?
Well, we had a good life. You know, we didn't know we were poor because we had everything we needed. You know, maybe we didn't have a lot of our wants, but my mother and my father, you know, provided for us. We had what we needed. People in the neighborhood took care of each other. So if we didn't have something, we could always go next door or whatever to get what we needed or call somebody. It's not like it is today. You know, everybody's for themselves today. But when we grew up, you know, everybody took care of each other. You know, everybody disciplined each other's children. You know, if you did something wrong, not only would a lady down the street get you, you're going to get another one when you got home. Same thing was at church. My mother went to the church further out from here. What they call Wilmer, Mississippi, and would leave us at home. Well, left us at home to go to church at High Street. Well, half the time we didn't go. We had a storage room on the side of the house. We go in the storage room and sit. And that's when we think about that now. That was crazy. Go in the storage room and sit for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and she weighed over an hour away. But by the time we thought she was on her way home, we come out and go down the street and walk back like we've been to church all the time. But it was always somebody there that'll call and say, the children wasn't at church today. And then she found out, we weren't at church.
Yeah.
Same thing, in church, everybody took care of each other. And know where everybody was supposed to be and who's supposed to be at church. And you're not there, they usually look for you.
Exactly.
Call my mama later and say, they wasn't at church, then where y'all were. We were either sitting on the store step. There used to be a store behind our church, Frank's store. We sit on the step because we could hear everything going on in the church by sitting on the step.
Exactly.
And we would know when to go back in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What high school did you graduate from?
Greenville High School. I graduated from Greenville High in 1975.
Man.
And it took me 30 years to get a BS degree because I worked, had children, and went from job to job. But I got a BS degree in 2007, and I got my master's in 2008. And I've done other studies, and I got all kinds. I have a lot of certificates and certifications and a lot of things.
Did you get discouraged in those 30 years before going back for your education?
No, because I often, even in between those 30 years, I still was taking classes here and there. And the last time I went back, when I went to get my master's, and my mama asked me what I was going to get then, I said, well, I'm going now to get my master's. And she said, well, you're going to have so much sense you're going to have to carry around in a paper bag. I said, okay, well, I'm going to get my master's.
And not going to get that paper bag, too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I went on, I got my master's from Delta State. I got my BS from Delta State. But I have attended all of the HBCUs in this area except for Alcorn.
Really?
I started out at Jackson State, and I went to Jackson State for a year and left Jackson State, and I ended up at Delta State the next year. But after that, I went to Mississippi Valley, and I've been to Mississippi Delta. Then I went back to Delta State and finished up.
What was your experience at the HBCUs? Because that's a thing now where, we have to bring some type of awareness to those colleges.
Well, it always has been a great experience for us. Because, at that time, again, everybody was family. Everybody provided for each other. If you didn't have something, it was always the next person next to you or your dorm room. You could always get what you needed. It's not like it is today. So that family atmosphere still carried over.
Man, you are a woman with so much wisdom.
Well, I pay attention to things, and we thank God for that.
Yeah. When you figure out that you was acquiring all this wisdom, was it just life, or in retrospect, looking back now?
Grandma and mama. Well, yeah, my grandmama, mama, and life experiences. Life teaches you a lot of stuff, but you have to pay attention. I don't read a lot of books. I read people and I read signs. I've been a lot of places, and everywhere I go, I'm often reading stuff, see what's going on. Certain things interesting. I like to read about people and their life experiences and how they accomplish what they have. And anybody can say I want to be, but if you don't put forth the effort to be what you want to be, then you just being. So whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. You got to sacrifice some time, a lot of times, and for things if you really want it. And it may not come overnight, but if you stay with it, you'll get it. Like I said, it took me 30 years to get a BS degree, but I never gave up on it because I knew that's what I wanted. So, and I went on later, got the master's. I've done some other studies toward my doctorate degree in business administration.
How did you become this, or when, or how did you become this public figure in the community, though?
Well, just by helping people, and dealing with a lot of people. Like I say, I'd like to, all about learning stuff so that I can help somebody else. I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of social service jobs that have take in people or dealing with people. And, when you deal with people, people come to you. Most time people look at it and say, well, she look like she ought to know. And a lot of stuff I really don't know, but I know who to call.
Like, man, this boy probably knows.
But if I don't know, I know who to call.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always important too. You ain't got to know it all, but just know who to contact to find out stuff. So I put myself in those kind of situations. Even on my present job at the courthouse, when we get new inmates, they send them to me first. And I asked them, well, why y'all send them to me? Well, you know, whatever they need, you're going to try to help them. Okay. Well, but y'all ought to be trying to help them too. Well, no, they inmate. Okay, well, they just happen to be locked up and you ain't. We've all done something wrong.
That's true,
and
too.
just hadn't got caught up like they got caught
Exactly.
up. So, you know, my lifelong goal is to help anybody that come my way, if I can.
65 years. Give me some things you learned other than like helping people too.
Well, life is what you make it. You know, it is. It can be what you want it to be, but you got to put forth the effort. You know, it's not about you sitting back saying what somebody did to you that was wrong. All of us been wrong, and all of us had done some wrong. So whatever it is you want your life to be, then you have to make it to be just that. But then you have to pray. You have to ask God for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to help you get there. We can't get through this world by ourselves. You know, a lot of times we believe that because we got all these degrees, we live in certain places, we make certain kind of money, that it's all about us. But it's not, because it didn't have to be. God made you, and He can stop you in your tracks. But, you know, when you pray and you thank God for what He has already done, then He'll bless you with other things. You know, the Bible tells us He'll make you, you know, small things, not about anything. You can take small things and make big things of them. And then He can make you ruler of other things. But you can't take what you got and make it believe, well, you know, I got this because I did this on my own. That ain't necessarily so. And you got to always give back. You know, Bible, Malachi tells us we must tithe. Give God our first fruits. You know, it ain't say pay all your bills and then give Him what's left. It says give Him your first fruits.
You think you're ordering it? Like, let me ask you. So boom, we get paid, right? 2 weeks, or a week that you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Before you do anything, is what you're saying.
That's right.
It come off top
It
first.
comes off the top.
Not going to another account for savings first. It goes to
no. You give Him 10% off the top of what you make it, and then you separate the rest of your money. And then if you do that, it becomes a habit with it, you'll see the difference it makes in your life, because you'll see you get to the point that you're not struggling like you used to struggle. Other things come in your life, money, deals come to you, people come to you that want to pay you to do things for them, and then that all comes from you doing what God says for you to do. Because, you know, He blesses us to bless somebody else. And when we do what He says for us to do, then we can have these blessed lives. Joy, we can have prosperous lives. You know, there's nothing wrong with living a good life. It just don't let the good life live you. So that's the difference in it. We have to take what we get, and then we have to use it to help other people. And a lot of times people are not looking for money. They just want advice or want to talk or help in other ways. It's not all about money. You know, people say, well, I ain't got nothing to give them. You ain't got to have nothing to give them. You know, your time, especially finances, your time could be enough for them.
Exactly. To go back to piggyback a little bit, for someone who needs to know how to manage their money, what you got for them?
Well,
with income coming in.
Say that again.
With income coming in,
mm-hmm.
How should it be broken down after tithes?
Well, if you're married, then you and your spouse should get together and decide how you all going to do your money. But you know, the first 10% of your first fruits goes to God, and then you all decide either you gonna have your own account and your spouse gonna have their own account, and then you all got a joint account for the household that you pay everything else out of. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not good at budgeting because I spend every penny I get.
We see.
I spend my money. You know, because I say all the time, but when I leave here, my children ain't gonna have nothing to fight over. They ain't gonna have, if they're all outside of life insurance policies, they ain't gonna have nothing to fight over. People might be trying to call them to collect, but they ain't gonna have nothing to fight over. Because I spent mine.
I'm saying for like the single people, and I'm asking because this is like an impoverished community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot of financial literacy going on, but people do have jobs and they get paid, and like money just coming in and money just going out. But sometimes we equate money to not having value in life too, and we don't know how to manage that. So I was just asking because you know how to, maybe open up some accounts, put some over here for the person who.
Well, I hear and I've heard on the television and other places and some seminars I've gone to that in some of the seminars I've gone to said nothing about tithing.
Exactly.
They say nothing about tithing, but the Bible tells us we must tithe. So then once you do that, then you still have to live within your means. A lot of times we go out and get a lot of stuff we can't afford because it either look good, we want it, or we see somebody else with it. But you have to live within your means. And then living within your means don't necessarily mean you're struggling now. Because you can what you make every month. And you know what bills you have every month. So it's left up to you to decide either I'm going to pay the light bill this month, or I'm going to go buy me a new dress. That's a decision, and that should not be of a real decision because you're going to want some lights at your house.
Gotta have some lights at your house.
So, once you get paid, then you already know what your bills are. So that's a decision you have to make as to whether or not I'm going to pay my utilities, I'm going to pay the other bills, but then it's still left to us to don't go out and take on a lot of debt that we can't pay for. Because some things, a whole lot of things I see that I want, but I can't necessarily afford them. So if you can't afford it, it's going to come a time when you can't afford those things. So, and then, it's going to, may take longer than you want it to be, but you'll get there.
As an African American woman in this community who is a public figure, how do you feel about that, like making this name or your reputation precedes you?
About?
Just Miss Parks, no. Like you just said, you look like you help a lot of people. I know when I got questions at any time, I'm texting you, and I'm sure it's many other people who got questions about, I'm talking about property taxes, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, I'm talking about banking accounts, and I'm sure you can help so many people in so many different situations where people still come to you or people reference you to, like somebody say as far as
right.
How do you feel? Yeah.
Oh, I don't mind it. I like to say I don't mind helping them, and most times people call me about, and like I say, if I know how to do it or what they should do, I'll tell them, or I say, well, give me a couple of days, let me find out, and I'll get back to you. But most of the time, it is something that I already know, and I try to help them steer them in the right direction. Or either, if I don't know, like I say, I call, and then when I call them back, well, this is what you need to do. Now, do that and call me back and let me know how it worked. If it didn't work, then we'll try something else. But, I'd be glad to hear from people, when they need help. Be glad to help them. And anything that I know I didn't just know it, somebody had to give it to me. So, I know God has blessed me with that kind of wisdom and knowledge.
Speaking on God too, which like those times where it was tough, how did you continue? What did you do to continue to lean into His grace, His mercy, to continue to grow?
Well, I just believe. All it takes is for you to believe and have faith that He would do what He said He would do. Now, to us, He doesn't work fast enough. That's because, we live in this microwave world. We want everything quick, fast, and in a hurry. But, God does what He does at His own time and pace. But because He doesn't come when we want Him to come, does not mean that it's denied. Most of the time He's just delaying us because we want it now and He's not ready for us. He already knows about us. He knows He gives us something too much and something too fast. He already knows what we're going to do with it. So He slows us down by slowing up and answering what we want for Him to do.
Hey, I got another question too. What's the secret to not look 65?
Look like me.
All these years, how did I make it this far? Through the valleys